The United States is one of the top foreign investors in Thailand. In 2022, the foreign direct investment from the United States was equal to 50.3 billion baht for 33 projects. Today, we have Khun Move Pipuntam, the president of American Chamber of Commerce and the Thailand country executive of Bank of America. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think right now we've seen uncertainties in Thailand, not only in business environment, but also in politics. So what are the main concerns and reactions in American business communities at this moment, given that there are more than 600 company members in American Chamber of Commerce? What are their concerns?
Economic prosperity and political stabilities are the key consideration for all the foreign investors when they look at the new destination to invest. The U.S. is third largest investor in Thailand after China and Japan. As you rightly mentioned, we have 620 corporate members, which represent 50 billion of US dollar of foreign direct investment and also employ half of billions of Thai workforce. Besides, the role of AMCHAM in networking among the American companies, we also trying to attract the new FDI, trying to promote FDI into Thailand. Of course, we want to have more members, right? And also supporting the members in terms of ease of doing business. We did the business sentiment survey last year among all the chambers within Asian countries. And the foreign investors are in favor of Thailand in terms of, they like the way that the government managed the COVID situation. They believe in the path of our economic recoveries. On the economic recovery, we can say that Thailand, 50% of our GDPs are from automotive, electronics, and also tourism. We have big ecosystem in these three sectors, and we have superior advantage, comparing to our neighboring countries. And there always a question in the past for 5 years that what will be the next pillar of growth for Thailand. And fortunately, the current government has came out with this Thailand 4.0, which focus on a new S-curve, which will be the next engine of growth for Thailand. They focus on EV. As you can see, there are lots of investment coming to Thailand, medical tourism, smart electronic, aerospace, so many industry that will be, implementation in the implementation plan. So in terms of policies, I think Thailand is in a very right track, in the right direction. On the political front, I think the people who already in Thailand has less concern, right? Because we have been through many government changes, and everyone knows that Thailand and Thai people, they are very open and very welcoming to foreign investors. What we want to see the government is the government can be formed very quickly with a smooth and fast transition. And of course, we want to see the winning majority to form the government, right? Because the government leads to the political stability for the next 4 years, right? At the moment, I think there is a little bit concern because of all the noises that we hear, we read from the media that the government cannot be formed quickly because there's no defined timeline on when the prime minister can be elected under the current constitution. So the caretaker government will be in power, and the caretaker means that even though they want to do something, they are not motivated to do. So I think setting up the government quickly will help boosting the investor confidence.
You talk a lot of significant points in this dialogue. I think the first one, of course, you give a positive message that including the Thailand 4.0, new X-curve, EV market, that's the positive message that not only American business environment, it's all the business leaders they want to see and to lead to the right prosperity and the right development. And secondly, you talk about the political stability too, because of course we just going just went through the May election, the general election, but right now we haven't seen the right timeline for the new government to get in, right? So that's the point that we have to concern for the business leaders. As what you said about the positive message, I see the negative message in stock market. So we've seen Thailand's stock markets plunge since the beginning of this year, as foreign investors had sold more than 100 billion baht. So it's kind of like a lack of confidence at this moment. What's your take? Do you think the confidence will go back at the end?
Thailand stock market was actually doing very well in 2022 in comparing to peer, right? Because of the global economic slowdown and the weaker than expected of the China reopening, which impacts a lot to us because we are relying on exporting to China and also Chinese tourists. And you know that the misfortune never come once. We also have the political situation in which has been accelerated massive sell-off from the foreign investor. As I mentioned earlier, setting up the government quickly can help a lot. And looking forward, there are many pockets of opportunity in the stock market as well, right? Especially in the service sector, which is related to tourism. So hospitality stocks, transportation, healthcare. I think those there are lots of companies under those sectors that I think investors can look at.
So I think right now, of course, the most important point is to stabilize the market, to form the new government as soon as possible. Actually, I talked to the European Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Farid Bigoli, the president. Actually, he said that, of course, EU, Thailand, they have FTA, American business, of course, you have big connections between Thailand and US too. You want to see the really stable governmental environment right now. Another point I want to ask about you is, what could the government right now do at this moment to stabilize the confidence in the market and business communities, as what you said?
I think the new government, once they come in, right, there are two main key challenges that they need to look at. I think the first thing is about the high household debt that probably, as we speak, is already at 90%. Right? We have some sympathy to the current government that when they came in, the household debt is already at 80%. And because of COVID hit the country, so they didn't really have flexibility in terms of extending the policy to tackle the household debt problem. And you know that the high household debt means that people do not have money to spend, right? In which it's impact domestic consumption. And when the foreign investor looking to invest in any particular destination, the size of domestic economy is very important. Thailand is the country with population of 70 million. It's quite large country. It's considered a large economy. But without the domestic purchasing power, it doesn't really tick the box for the investor to invest. So I think that the new government, when they come in, this should be one of their first priority. The other challenge that the new government has is probably on electricity price. You heard a lot about the rise in electricity costs. At the moment, we are paying electricity twice higher than Vietnam, 3 times higher than Malaysia. How can the companies in Thailand, not only the foreign company in Thailand, can be competitive in international markets? And the other thing is our energy source rely, I think 2/3 of energy source rely on import. So it put Thailand at a very high risk of energy dependency, right? And in order to promote stability of the energy, I think the government already take a priority step in terms of getting the renewable energy plan came out. It has, I believe, it's already awarded 2-3 months ago. But besides that, we need to look at other alternative source. We were talking about Cambodia, Thailand, overlapping area for the past 10 years, but there's not much progress. It would be great if the new government, restart that discussion so we can have energy source of our own.
Very good point there. I think the word that we have to say is the cost for the domestic issues, the domestic market. And you also talk about the international relations too. So it's not just about the household debt, it's not just about the electricity price, it's about the relations between two countries too. So actually the next leader has a lot of in hands to deal with. One question I want to add up here to follow up, what kind of leadership you want to see? Because the next leader has to really deal with this kind of issues maybe in first 3 months. They don't have honeymoon period, right? What kind of leadership you want to see?
I think the formula of leader of the country is probably the same, right? But the world is already into globalization. So we need to have vision. You need to look at how to move the country forward. And Thailand, we are always, number one in terms of foreign direct investment. We have all ingredients. We have solid infrastructure. The government has invested 90 billion in terms of expanding ports, road, rail. The financial sector is very strong. The banks, capital ratio is more than 20%. NPLs is very low. Interest rate also very low. Our interest rate is only, I think, 2% comparison to Indonesia, Philippines of 6%. So we have all ingredients in place. So the next leader needs to have a solid implementation plan to move the country forward.
Right. Next question, I think, because of course you've been in banking industry for more than 20 years, I would like to have your suggestion for Thailand's next government. Given that, what has Thailand done well in these recent years? Because you talk about Thailand 4.0 and EV market and good policy to attract FDI too. And what should Thailand government to improve?
I think all policy is already in place. I don't think any foreign investor has questions about Thailand policy because all the good intentions are there, right? The concern is more on process rather than policy. At AMCHAM, we are working with the Foreign Chambers Alliance, which include the British, Australian, the German, and the Japanese. And we all come up with what we call Thailand, 10 for Thailand initiatives, right? I'm not going to bore you with all the 10 initiatives, but in the nutshell, it is around 3 areas. One is about the consistency of the law and regulation. We were talking about regulatory guillotine in order to eliminate all redundancies, but it doesn't really make much progress. And again, it's for transparency, clarity. We would like to see the law that apply evenly and consistently in all cases, right? And the second thing in Thailand 10 initiative is about everything E, right? Electronic, digital on government platform. And we actually seeing a lot of progress during the COVID time because I think everyone is forced to be more digitalized. So there are improvements in terms of e-signature, government registration, tax clearance. So we would like this momentum to continue, right, into the new government. And the last thing is on shortage of labor costs. Thailand has issue with aging demographic and also the decline in birth rate. So the foreign workers are very important, very critical for the growth of the Thai economy. And you're thinking about, the amount of the volume of the paperwork and the effort that we need to put in order to obtain business visa, working permits. The process is still very onerous. So we would like to see the process more simplified and straightforward. The good things on this shortage of labor costs is the current administration has came out with this long-term resident visa LTR visa, which was very great initiative. It was very well receptive among the foreign investor because it allowed the high-skilled professional to enter the countries. But we would like to see it expand into more business category because at the moment it's only limited to the new S-curve sector. We would like to see more professional bodies coming to Thailand in healthcare, in education, in legal advisory sector. I think the growth of the country, we need more high-skilled people to come to and help us.
When you talk about the visa, I feel connected because I have to go to Tengwatana like every 3 months to register, to actually sometimes I have to extend my visa. It takes a lot of time.
Yes,
so that's the bureaucratic
And the country
side.
wants to, try and attract FDI, but it's so difficult to get a business visa and the immigration visa.
Yes, the key word is bureaucratic system. They should loosen the bureaucratic system and cut it short, actually. I think last question is what I said, of course, you have a lot of abundant experience in business sectors, and you understand the nature of difficulties in Thailand in terms of struggles in business and of course in the society. There's a lot of change in the society in past 20 years. So are you still confident that Thailand is a good place to put foreign direct investment in, given that comparing to Vietnam, comparing to Indonesia, they might give a lot of incentives, fiscal incentives and policy for foreign direct investment. How about Thailand? Are you still confident?
Since 2010, the foreign direct investment flows has pouring in Asian countries. The size is probably double. At the moment, it's around 200 billion US dollars. And it's represent 11 to 12% of the global GDP. So those flows into our regions are very large. And it seems that each country in Southeast Asia finds its own niche. Indonesia, for example, they benefits from the flows into batteries, commodity downstream, EV related, mainly from the North Asian countries, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. Malaysia, they managed to secure the interest from European and North American countries into electronic, right? Malaysia, they represent around 13 to 14% of the semiconductor output globally. So I think semiconductor and electronics are the ways to go for Malaysia. And Intel just made an announcement of investing 7 billion US dollar in Malaysia on fabrication facility. Singapore, they always been the hub of financial center. So financial services contribute, I think, 65 to 70% of their FDI. In the past 10 years, they have moved up the curve in terms of the super high-tech, high-end, sector such as semiconductor, biomedical hubs for Southeast Asia. Vietnam and Thailand, we are the clear winner of the global supply chain shift. Vietnam probably doing better for us because the country is still low cost based. That's one thing. And the second thing is they are more advanced in terms of bilateral trade agreement, multilateral trade agreement. They have signed, I think, most of the agreement. And the MNCs are pouring there because they just want to leverage FTA that Vietnam has. For Thailand, I don't think it's too late. We may miss the first trend of the global supply chain shift, but the policy of MNCs in China +1, we always here, we always there, right? And originally, the China +1 strategy came from the rise in labor costs in China. So the MNCs start looking that +1, right? But because of the current geo-economic fragmentation, so I'm sure that the money will pouring in the Asian countries. And there's enough cake for everyone, right? No one can, none of us can replace what China can do. I think instead of competing each other among all Southeast Asian countries in bringing their own FDI, ideally we would like to see the Asian leaders sitting together and also identify on which country, which sectors we are good at, and then divide the cake by our own, right? And at the end, all the Southeast Asian country will be the clear winner of the China Plus One policy.
Yeah, so key point here is collaboration rather than competition in Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asian countries should collaborate and hold hands together to get FDI. And as what you said, there are more than enough cakes for every country, so we should collaborate together. Today, thank you for Ms. Mukpibuntam, the President of American Chamber of Commerce and Thailand Country Executive of Bank of America. Thank you so much.
ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you.
More news to come.